Hi, welcome, Tigers and guests. Welcome to our Suncoast Tiger Bay virtual event. My name is Joanna Cheshire. I'm the Vice President of the Suncoast Tiger Bay Club and your host for this virtual panel discussion. Now, local elections impact our community and our everyday lives. Suncoast Tiger Bay Club serves as a civic commons where thought leaders and citizens of all political stripes come together to discuss the pressing issues of our time. With Election Day less than a month away, November 3rd, we are committed to keeping the conversation going so our members and guests can make informed decisions on their ballot. Even though we cannot be together at our regularly monthly luncheons, Suncoast Tiger Bay will keep bringing you virtual events just like this one. Please help support our continuing commitment to delivering timely and informative programming by becoming a member, renewing your membership, or just donating today. A donation of $25 or $35, what you would have spent on a Tiger Bay luncheon, will help sustain our club during these tough times and allow us to continue to keep you informed and connected to our community. Also consider promoting your business by sponsoring a Tiger Bay virtual event. For more information, contact us. Information will be provided at the end of the presentation. Suncoast Tiger Bay Club is committed to the development of our future leaders. We call them Young Tigers. Each meeting, we welcome local high school and college students into our discussion. So welcome today to our Young Tigers joining us virtually from Pinellas Park High School. Seniors Jackson Ailey and Emily Hernandez are joined by their principal, Brett Patterson. We're so glad to have you on with us today. Thank you for joining us. You can help support our Young Tiger program by sponsoring a virtual event. And with that said, I would like to thank you for joining us for the Pinellas County Sheriff Candidate Forum. Now, the format and rules for today. It's a little different than our in-person meetings. Our moderator, Joe Hamilton, will ask questions of the candidates for about 20 minutes, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask your own questions via the question panel on your screen. Questions can be submitted at any time during the program. And due to the virtual format of today's presentation, we will not be doing the Fang and Claw Award, but don't worry, we will bring that back as soon as we're all back together again in person. A note to our candidates, we're allowing 3 minutes response time per question. If your answer runs long, we will stop you so that you both have a fair chance to participate in today's discussion. We have so much important content to cover, so let's get started. It's with great pleasure I introduce our moderator, Joe Hamilton, founder of the St. Pete Catalyst. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Joanna. And thank you, Tiger Bay members and guests, for joining us for another important community conversation. I would now like to introduce our candidates, Eliseo Santana, Democrat challenger, and Bob Gualtieri, the Republican incumbent. Candidates, we know that campaigning during a pandemic has proven to be a special challenge, and Suncoast Tiger Bay is honored to have you both join us today. Each candidate will now have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and let us know why they're running for Sheriff of Pinellas County. Candidate Santana, we'll start with you.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for the Tiger Bay Club for what you're doing. You're providing this format to be able to inform our citizens is extremely valuable and appreciated. Our most valuable asset is our democracy, and when we vote knowledgeably, we're in the right place. So thank you for that. My name is Eliseo Santana. I've been a resident of Pinellas County since 1980. I'm a veteran, both of the U.S. Army and also the Florida National Guard. I was hired by the Sheriff's Department back in 81, in which I served for about 30 years in the capacity of modernizing and working with technology to bring about the safety of our community. I'm a father of 4 and a grandfather of 13, all of which were born in Pinellas County and live here. And 10 of my grandchildren attend local schools here in Pinellas. It is essential in this climate that we have that we address the issues. There are many of us that have been out in the streets and saying that we need a change in the culture of law enforcement. And in this process of change for the cultural law enforcement, we have you have the choice of voting for that has been but needs change, or someone new that has the capacity of looking at something and be able to take us to the next level. Instead of militarizing our police, I want to introduce the community as a partnership and widen our community policing aspect of what we do. It is essential that we also um, address major crimes in a very capable manner, truly addressing the issues that are bringing about the change. Um, my name is Eliseo Santana, and I stand here before you saying that we need a change, and I am that change. I will institute body cameras immediately upon coming into office because we need that accountability and credibility with the community. Bring in the community leaders to be able to address and guide us appropriately as a partner in this keeping our community safe. Uh, it is essential that we also uh, address the systemic racism that it shows itself in having 30 of the 32 senior staff, the command level individuals, uh, not be not be people of color. We need to bring our community, we need to bring our agency to be more reflective of our community, not just at the lower ranks, but at the decision making. And that's something that as sheriff I will do, and that's something that the current sheriff has addressed and put so that those that advise him are very similar to him culturally and in background. Um, it is essential that we make a choice. The choice is what within 20 days. It's the future of our county. It's the future of our state and the nation. My name is Eliseo Santana.
Thank you, Sheriff Gualtieri.
Good afternoon, Tigers. It's great to be here with you today. I'm Bob Gualtieri. I'm the Pinellas County Sheriff. I've been in office now for 9 years. I started my law enforcement career here in Pinellas County about 38 years ago. I started as a city police officer up in Dunedin, worked as a patrol deputy here at the sheriff's office. I was an investigator. I worked in the criminal investigation division. And I've worked in or supervised every component of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. In contrast, my opponent has absolutely no law enforcement experience. He's only worked in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office radio repair shop, and simply he's just never been a cop. He wants to lead law enforcement officers, but he's never worn the uniform, and he's never done the job. As far as accomplishments go, one of the best things I can tell you that we have done here in Pinellas County over the last 10 years is to reduce crime in our service area by 49.5%. And that's huge. It's big. We've cut crime in half over the last 10 years. It's because of good old fashioned police work. It's because of technology. It's because of good policies and good practices. Now, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office is one of about 3,100 sheriff's offices in the United States. And I was fortunate and really humbled to have my peers through the National Sheriff's Association name me among those 3,100 sheriffs as the 2019-2020 Sheriff of the Year. I just finished a term as the president of the Florida Sheriff's Association, where I was elected by the 66 other sheriffs in the state of Florida for our accomplishments here in Pinellas County. Now, as we went into this race, I really wanted to keep this election about accomplishments and qualifications and not have it be gutter politics race. However, unfortunately, Mr. Santana has decided to put it in the gutter with his false and misleading TV ads and mailers. And, this is really what's wrong with politics today. But I guess when you have no qualifications or experience, then you resort to gutter politics. And it's sad that we have really resorted to that. But electing Mr. Santana as a sheriff is like going to someone to have heart surgery who's never been to medical school and never practiced medicine. And Mr. Santana is not a cop. He's never run a jail. We run the 28th largest jail system in the United States. He's never supervised more than 8 people. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office has about 3,000 employees, and our budget this year will top about $400 million. Unfortunately, Mr. Santana and his mailers and TV ads has taken excerpts from newspaper ads that claim that I want to cage children and that I believe that investigating rapes is, quote, a waste of time. Both of those allegations are offensive and they're false. I've never supported caging children, and quite frankly, that assertion is appalling. If one reads the whole quote in the newspaper article about rape investigations, I was discussing people who reported an alleged rape and then recanted because they were sex workers who were ripped off by their clients or cheating spouses who made up the allegation to cover up for an affair. Nowhere in that quote was I talking about rape victims. I was discussing people who falsely reported a rape, and us pursuing that false report any further was a waste of time because it's a false report. We thoroughly and diligently investigate rape allegations. I have and I will always support the victims of sexual assault. Our arrest rate in rape cases is as good or better than other major law enforcement agencies in Pinellas County over the last 5 years. That newspaper article was about whether a case was properly closed as exceptional or whether it should have been closed as administrative. And that's simply what it comes down to. We did not properly investigate rape cases. Now, one of the things you'll hear Mr. Santana talk about is use of force, and that we need to reduce the use of force. Think about this, is that we, in 2019, responded to about 500,000 calls for service here in Pinellas County. Deputies used force in 0.1% of those cases, 435 out of 500,000. Over the last 10 years, deputies have used deadly force 14 times, an average of about one per year, little more than one per year. And in the last 4 years, we've used deadly force 4 times in the last 4 years. So this notion that there is not the proper policies, the proper accountability, and the proper training, and that we use too much force is just simply erroneous. Some of the things that Mr. Santana is calling for, the banning of chokeholds, we banned them a long time ago. Increased mental health awareness, mental health training. We started a mental health unit in 2016, 4 years ago. Banning no-knock warrants, we did that. On October 26th, we will implement body-worn cameras here in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. We have 560 cruisers that we've had dash cameras in for the last 6 years. And today we download about 17,000 video events a month. So all of that accountability, all of that recording, either we have it or we will be implementing it within the next 30 days. There's a lot of things that we've accomplished here, but first and foremost, we've kept Pinellas County safe. I've demonstrated that through my experience, and that crime has been cut in half. Simply, experience and qualifications matter. Mr. Santana has no law enforcement experience. He has no management experience. And all of that is necessary to run about the 15th largest sheriff's office in the country with 3,000 employees and a budget that tops $400 million. So I look forward to your questions and having further discussion here today and here with the Tigers. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff Gualtieri will stay with you for the first question. There are ads running on local stations to actively recruit new deputies. How does the department of tomorrow most differ from the department of yesterday?
We are and actively recruiting, and we want a good mix of seasoned, experienced law enforcement officers and new people that we can put into the police academy so that we have a good balance. It is important that we recruit minorities, and we are. I can tell you, since I've been in office, our recruitment of law enforcement deputies is about 17% Black. So we are making efforts to recruit minorities. Mr. Santana made a comment and has made issue about the demographics of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Pinellas County is about 11% Black, and in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, our ratio of Blacks is 12.2%. So we do reflect the community. We are making strides, and we are making efforts to make sure that we are as diverse as we possibly can. But we also have to make sure that we have the right people with the right experience in a variety of positions. So we're making that progress. We have hired many more, and we will continue to recruit. But in this day and age, especially with the attack that law enforcement is under, recruiting is hard. But we had a police academy graduation last night where we graduated about 20. We've got 2 more classes in the pipeline, and we are having that success in recruiting, and especially recruiting minorities.
Thank you. Candidate Santana, same question. How does the department of tomorrow differ from the department of yesterday?
We have a lot of good people that are applying that want to make a difference in our community. And that is such a marvelous thing. The problem that we have is not in the people that are coming in, our recruits. They are wanting to be of service to our community. The issue is in our senior staff, the command level. Where we have out of 32, we have only 2 people of color, and one of them was just recently promoted in the last month. Uh, when we attract these individuals that are coming in that are the cream of the crop, we need to be able to have them and offer them that ability of having a promotional avenue, that they're going to be evaluated based on what they have done and their abilities and their capacity and their capabilities. And too often, at what I witnessed within the agency was not that. The good old boy network has been utilized in order to put people into positions of authority. When we have only 2 people of color at the highest level out of 32, that speaks for itself. I don't even have to even go further than that. It is essential that those that are coming in that are the good people, the deputies that are doing the right things, we have people in the agency that are fantastic at what they do at world class levels. We need to empower them to be able to do what they do best and promote them so that they can then enhance that situation. The mindset, that mindset, I believe it was Einstein that said something of the nature of that mindset that got us into the trouble that we're in now. It's not going to be the one that is going to remove us. It's going to resolve this problem. We need somebody that is able to address and see these situations and be able to guide our agency of good deputies and good functions to be able to go into the next century, be able to apply that community policing to bring in the community to be a part of. For too long, the militarization process, the buying of over 300 assault rifles, and the getting of the armored cars and getting the uniforms and getting the officers that are good people that want to do a good thing to act more like a military force. I want to bring back that that peace officer mentality of being able to walk in the community and properly do these things. In the last few weeks, since now we have come close to the end of the election, I see that we're going to get some kind of body cameras coming in. For too many years, the answer was no from our sheriff. I studied this and I looked at this uh, over a decade ago and determined that this was the best way of going for accountability and credibility, and also to be able to have that transparency that the community needs. This is nothing new. We need to have a sheriff that is there that's going to take action based on what is there, what the actions of to keep our community safe are, and not necessarily something that's going to have them promoted. It is the article on the that was referred to in the Tampa Bay Times. I ask everyone to look at it and read it on your own. Don't just get a summary. Google rapes on Pinellas, and when you read that article, you'll see the nature of avoiding and not investigating properly, and also re-victimizing our victims. Sheriff, are you saying that the 80 cases that were administratively resolved should have been handled different, or was that not the right case?
So with the format today, we're going to move on to the next question. And we're going to stay with you, candidate Santana. St. Petersburg Police Department has announced plans for a police social worker program to roll out next year in 2021. Should the Sheriff's Department consider something similar to that, and why or why not?
Absolutely, and they have that area has been explored, and of recently. Now that we're getting close to election, our current sheriff has said that he's going to expand upon that. That is something that is essential. When we have the majority of our calls are for people that are in mental crisis, some kind of a homelessness or drug use, having a deputy respond to these issues is not necessarily the best use of our funds and to maintain our community safe. We need to be able to address the core issues and have the professionals that are going to be able to interact and be able to have the solutions to be able to eliminate this issue from the core. Arresting somebody and taking them to jail does not do anything to resolve the problem and actually aggravates it. I applaud the efforts of the city of St. Petersburg and wish that our sheriff department would have taken the lead a long time ago to be able to keep our community safer by being able to do exactly what now is being done.
Sheriff Gualtieri, what are your thoughts?
So I'm going to go back for a second. First of all, as far as hiring is concerned, before anybody reaches a level where they could be promoted into mid-level management, it takes a minimum of 10 years. So Mr. Santana, because he doesn't have any law enforcement experience, he's never been in management or law enforcement agency, doesn't understand what it takes to rise to the level of having the right experience. You can't bring somebody in at 1 and 2 and 3 years and put them into a captain, a major, or a colonel position because they simply don't have the experience, like he doesn't have the experience. So, let's talk about this issue about that article he talks about in the quote 80 cases. Is that what that came down to? Is that we had a sergeant in the homicide unit, which investigates the rape cases. He inappropriately, because he didn't understand the criteria, closed those cases under a uniform crime reporting designation as exceptional closures when they should have been closed administratively, and put those terms in quotes. They mean something. So he used the wrong designation. That's what it comes down to. Not a one of those cases, not a one, was not properly investigated. And I'll put our people, our efforts, our work in investigating sexual assault cases up against anybody, as I said in that article. And there are some things in that article, of course, I don't agree with. And there's certainly things that Mr. Santana has taken out of context that have been extremely misleading. So he's just wrong. And it was an administrative closure designation that should have been had as opposed to exceptional. So that's just what that comes down to. Now, let's talk about mental health. Is that he says, well, he wishes the sheriff's office had taken the lead. We've had a mental health unit here since 2016. I've been talking about mental health since 2017, talking before the Florida legislature and sounding this horn that we need to do it better. There are about 200,000 Baker Acts annually in the state of Florida, about 11,000 here in Pinellas County. Where the system is dramatically lacking is in the area of case management. So we partnered licensed mental health professionals with deputies to go out on the street and to bring case management to the street and to keep these people out of the jail and out of the criminal justice system. 10 years ago, talk about taking leadership. 10 years ago, I started Pinellas Safe Harbor, which is a homeless diversion program where we house about 400 people a day. A lot of them have co-occurring disorders of mental health, behavioral health, and addiction. We keep them out of the jail and out of the criminal justice system. So we're committed to that. And what we announced recently was an expansion for a co-response model, which I believe is the safest model. As opposed to just having some 25-year-old mental health professional going out by himself or herself responding to calls. We'll have a situation where that licensed mental health professional is going to respond with the deputy who's been crisis intervention team trained. And that team will bring their skill sets to the table so that they're safe and they're making good decisions so that we can not only case manage on the backside, but we can hopefully reduce the number of Baker Acts, provide services to people, and keep them out of the mental health system and out of the criminal justice system. This is something that we've been doing for years. This is not new, and we have shown leadership on it, and we have taken the lead here in Pinellas County, and we'll continue to do so because treating people right and treating them fairly and not criminalizing mental health is something that I've always been committed to. So Mr. Santana is way off base on his comments about that.
A submitted question from a Tiger Bay member. We'll stay with you, Sheriff Gualtieri. What plans do you have to restore public confidence in the police in their treatment of minorities under custody?
We have good relationships in the community, but we can always be better. And to look for ways, and a lot of the things, and I think where we have been inadequate is conveying to the public the things that we have been doing and the things we have in place. When I talk to community groups, when I talk to faith-based organizations, when I talk to formal and informal community leaders, one of the things that I find is that people are calling for certain things. And when I tell them what we're already doing or what we already have in the works, their response is, well, I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that. So we need to do a better job of communicating what we've already done, that we have, as I mentioned, a very, very low use of force rate, 0.1%. Deputies use deadly force an average of 1 time per year. We have banned chokeholds. We have banned no-knock search warrants. We are committed to treating people right and fairly and who have mental health issues. In the last 2 years, we've responded to about 1 million calls. We respond to about 500,000 calls a year. And in the last 2 years, we have had 3 bias-based policing complaints. That's it, 3 out of 1 million. So we are engaged in fair and impartial policing. We are engaged in de-escalation training. We are engaged in training with all of our personnel to make them more aware of implicit bias. And we are committed to community policing. We have over 40 community policing deputies. We have a lot of relationships in the community. We need to keep that going. We need to bolster it. We need to have the confidence and keep the confidence of the majority of the community that we have. And where that confidence is lacking, we need to build on it. And that's done through communication, through dialogue, through sitting down, and through listening to people and making the changes where we need to. We talk about this issue of body cameras. Is that I started here, dash cameras in every car, and we have now 560 cruisers that all have dash cameras. We download 17,000 video events a month. People call for body cameras. The only reason why that I was resistant to it was because it was newer technology. Now, Mr. Santana says that he developed this or that he was a catalyst for it or whatever. Go look at the facts. Body cameras did not come on the market until 2012. He left here in 2012 as a radio repair guy. He wasn't researching it, and he didn't push body cameras because they didn't even exist. We had a few dash cameras. And so it costing us now to implement the body worn camera program $3 million a year. And for me, the technology wasn't where it needed to be, and we are weighing it as a cost benefit against that technology. But now the technology's changed dramatically. It's much better. And it's what people want, what the community wants. And I'm listening to the community, and we're going to implement it. On October 26th, we begin our body worn camera program. And it will cost over the next 5 years about $15 million. But this is what the community wants. This is what we're going to do. And we will have deputies wearing body cameras. We'll keep the cameras in the cruisers. And that transparency hopefully will help lead to increased confidence, because this is what the people are looking for. So at the end of the day, we need to keep the relationships. We need to listen to the community, and we need to keep on the path we're on, but we can still look for ways to do better.
Candidate Santana, I'll repeat the question. What plans would you have to restore public confidence in the police and their treatment of minorities while under custody?
We need to bring the community leaders into play. What we have is someone that's come from a law enforcement environment and believes that having greater application of those techniques and things that have in the past been done, to apply them even more so would make things better, and they're not. It is essential that we institute the body cameras that I researched at the state-of-the-art process initially before they became popular, and determined that this was the way that we can maintain our officers acting professional and courteous throughout the community and be able to protect the officers from false accusations. The community needs to regain that confidence in our deputies, in our organization that is so lacking. There are so many different actions that have taken place that have put us, the agency, in an us against them being the community. We need to bring about the community to come into play. Accountability, transparency is essential. We're going to have a citizens review board that is going to be able to have access to all of this information that is there as pertains to whatever the issue and the incident that we have, and seek guidance from them as how to properly approach this situation. The mind that got us into this situation here, the mind It's not going to be the one that is going to change what the approach for the future. It's not going to make our community safer, even though that many of the actions now are driven by trying. How many days to election? 20 days. It's a huge amount of motivation to change a lot of. What's up with that? Changing from not having cameras to having cameras. We need to be able to truly address the issues. Our citizens demand that we are accountable. I am going to make sure that the people that are in jail are people that are a threat to our community, that are a violent threat to our community. It is essential that we do not arrest everyone that has mental illness or has any kind of a crisis going through it. And I applaud the ability of St. Petersburg and others to be able to enhance on that. And the movement that we're now going into to address mental illness is something that I'm going to pursue, but not as a political ploy, but something of a true cure. Being able to resolve our issues at the core is essential to keeping our community safe.
Staying on the same topic, with the level of discord, what areas of the internal department culture are most important to address, both in how the deputies interact with the public, but also how they receive that interaction in their own mental health and the internal culture for the organization itself? Candidate Santana, will stay with you.
The overwhelming majority, no. Our deputies are good people and they're acting in good faith and they are doing what they think is best to keeping our community safe. It is just a small amount of individuals that are not doing the right thing. And there is an internal culture that promotes protecting those few individuals that are not doing the right thing and keeping that going. I am going to empower the good officers to be able to take care of and deal with those individuals that are not doing the right thing. We have many of our officers that are also going through the same, they're family members. They're going through the same stress that we're going through with the COVID-19, the insecurities of getting money in, that stress that is occurring, that our community is experiencing. They're also experiencing, and they're going from one event to another. I'm going to make sure that their needs are being properly addressed, that they're given all of the equipment and the supplies and all of the resources that they need so that they can do their job as best as they can. We have an issue with our senior command staff not being reflective of the community. And we need to be able to address that good old boy network promotional process and truly get people in there that know what they're doing, they are capable, and they have shown that they're able to. And the sheriff has been in power for what, 9 years? More than that with as chief deputy, and we're still running through these issues. We're going to have a drastic change now that the election's over with. Or maybe not. Vote for Santana. I am going to represent that change, leading our agency into the 21st century, getting rid of truly supporting and backing up our deputies that are doing the right thing and giving them the tools that they need and promoting the right people into place.
Sheriff Gualtieri, same question.
Well, frankly, what Mr. Santana said is pretty offensive to the men and women of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. He hasn't been around here in 8 years. He left as a radio repair guy, never been a cop, never worn a uniform, never led people, was never responded to a call. And he really has the audacity to sit there and say that the culture of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office is one where the people who are doing things wrong are protected by others. That couldn't be further from the truth. The two most important things in running a law enforcement agency are the agency culture, and we absolutely have one of accountability. The other is training. And when people call for all of this change, I'll take agency culture that includes a high level of accountability and agency training over any of the tangible quote stuff. And we hold our people accountable. We have good people who work hard every day. We don't have perfect people, and there's always room to do it better, but our people try. We have community trust. I think Mr. Santana is watching too much TV. And there are problems in some agencies, but we don't have the problems here in Pinellas County, and we don't have the problems here in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office they do in some places. So what he said is largely rhetoric. It's largely this narrative and somewhat of a populist narrative because we're doing it right. And we don't have excessive force complaints. We don't have bias-based policing complaints. So when he says he needs to, quote, fix all of this, one, he's never been a cop, never been an agency administrator, never worn the uniform, hasn't been here in 8 years. And he's just throwing these assertions out and aspersions out that are really baseless. And there's no fact to support what he's claiming. You know, and I'll go back for a quick second here and talk about what he says about keeping people out of jail. Pinellas Safe Harbor 10 years ago, diversion program. Mental health. I guess he didn't listen to what I said because he keeps saying about some political ploy. I started the mental health unit in 2016, 4 years ago, and been talking about mental health since 2013. We run the most successful juvenile diversion program in the state of Florida. It's been running for 20 years at 96% diversion for all kids. I started in 2017 an adult pre-arrest diversion program. So people who have a baggie of pot, who have a pot pipe, who steal something at Walmart, who trespass, they don't go to jail. They're all diverted. And since 2017, we screened over 10,000 people at the sheriff's office and in all the police departments in Pinellas County to keep people who make that first time mistake, who have that bump in the road in life, to keep them out of jail, out of the criminal justice system so they don't have that arrest record. We've done that and we continue to do more. And the people who are in jail are the people who need to be there. They're the people that are the violent criminals. And we have made a lot of strides and make a lot of effort at making sure we treat people right internally and externally.
Thank you, Sheriff Gualtieri. Staying with you for the next question. What do you see as law enforcement's role in our local schools? What should the duties of the school resource officer be?
Well, first and foremost, and there's no question that the duty of the school resource officer is to keep the kids and the staff safe. I was appointed in 2018 by the governor to chair the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Commission, which was tasked with investigating the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland and making recommendations. The legislature has received those recommendations, and I can tell you, hands down, unequivocally, that the schools in the state of Florida are safer today than they were in 2018. One of the things that, sadly, I can tell you from having lived this for the last few years and led this commission investigation, and it's a hard thing to say, but a school shooting will happen again. It's just a question of when and where. They cannot be totally prevented. So first and foremost, we need to make sure that we have the right tools in place to stop it as soon as it starts so that we don't have multiple casualties. In Florida, the law is today, and I didn't make the law, the Florida legislature made the law, that we have to have an armed person on every campus. And so that is the school resource officer. That is that cop on every campus, whether it's a charter school, an elementary school, a middle school, or a high school, to make sure that there's somebody there that can stop it. Because at Parkland, there were 34 people who were shot and or killed in 3 minutes and 51 seconds. Very short amount of time. A lot of carnage. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. Now, the other role that the SROs have is to develop relationships with the kids, to be mentors to the kids, to help those kids, especially those that have mental health issues that are causing problems, and to recognize the concerns and to help the staff and to help the teachers. So school resource officers have a multi-pronged area of responsibility. First and foremost is security, but they're also mentors, they're teachers, they're role models. They're the ones that should be there to help the staff, to help the students, And like any other part of the school environment, we want the kids to achieve at the highest levels. And hopefully they're part of that team in the schools that will help accomplish that. So, but school security is vitally important. When parents send their kids to school in the morning, they should absolutely expect their kids are coming home safe at the end of the day. That's what we all want. And that's first and foremost the responsibility of every police officer, deputy sheriff that is at the schools within our county and within our state.
Candidate Santana, same question.
Our sheriff was appointed in order to be the head of a commission to be able to address that tragedy that happened in our high school. And the recommendation that came out of it was basically to put guns in our schools, to put citizens that go through a minimal training to have a gun and be there, to arm the teachers. Having a gun in the school does not put us in a safer situation. Unfortunately, when we have individuals in like deputies and correctional officers, that's what they end up being. When we have at our schools deputies and law enforcement that are assigned and they're not properly trained, what we have is a school to jail pipeline that opens up. The majority of children that go through this process of having their future denied and abused are children of color. It doesn't have to be that way. Our school board in Pinellas County opted to have law enforcement rather than having to arm the teachers and bring in citizens, but to have an SRO, to have a law enforcement officer in that capacity. And I will tell you that I hold that personal. I am going to be selecting each and every one of the SROs that are going to be going into the schools to be able to keep our children safe. There is an SRO association that properly guides and trains these individuals, law enforcement individuals, so that they could be mentors. They could do restorative justice. They could be counselors within that environment of the school so that they truly be an asset and eliminate this school to jail pipeline through proper training. The attitude of those individuals and their ability and their wanting to be there is essential. I'm going to make that into a career path because our community, my 10 grandchildren that attend public schools in Pinellas County, I see their safety and the safety of all of our children as paramount. It is not putting guns in all of our schools and the sheriff not only recommended that as the chairperson of that committee, but he also lobbied our legislators to impose that law upon all of the schools in Florida. It doesn't make us safer, but I will make sure that our SROs are properly trained. I'm going to handpick them to make sure that they be able to keep our children safe and contribute to breaking this cycle that is happening and truly help our children grow to be citizens and to see our law enforcement as an asset, as an ally, as a partner in this process.
Thank you both for your time and your insightful answers. I greatly appreciate it, and Tiger Bay appreciates it. We have time for one final question, and we're going to make it a quick one. We'd ask you to keep your answers just to 30 seconds. Given the time that you spent debating each other both today and previously, what would you say is the one philosophical belief that you have that most differentiates yourself from your opponent? Candidate Santana, you can start.
I am not going to impose the power and the authority of law enforcement on the people. I am going to bring the people into the equation to be able to truly address the issues that make us unsafe. It is the difference between militarization and community policing.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Well, from what I've seen, probably candor and honesty, because the last week's been pretty brutal with these aspersions and negative ads and what Mr. Santana has sunk to. To say that I want to cage kids is just a lie. And to say that I think investigating rapes is a waste of time is a flat out lie. And I think you have to have character, you have to have integrity, and let's keep it to qualifications, experience, and accomplishments. And I've accomplished a lot. I'm the only candidate in the race that hasn't declared bankruptcy. I'm the only candidate in the race that doesn't have foreclosures against them. I'm the only candidate in the race that wasn't sued by a credit card company in January of this year. It had a judgment against me. That's where this thing has gone, unfortunately. So it has no place, but, he took it there. So be it. But let's talk about public safety and reducing crime by half. Let's talk about all the things we've done in mental health and pre-arrest diversion and in the schools and this notion about arming teachers. He says I wanted to arm. That law was in effect before the commission was established. Go look at it. Senate Bill 7026 was established before the commission even took place that require armed personnel on campus. I didn't do that. The legislature did it and the governor did it before we were even in place. So let's be honest and put some truth back in this process.
Yes.
Thank you both for your time. It's greatly
Absolutely.
appreciated.